Hi, it's Hazel and welcome to my channel, Hazel and Naka Design. This is going to be what I hope is just the first in a series of follow-up Friday videos. Now, you know that I don't edit. I don't have a phone that is able to pause so that I can, do something and get back to the same video and so on. So quite often I start something in a video and you never see how it turns out until maybe months later or maybe never. So I want to show you, I think I showed you that I started doing a bunch of these little teeny tiny books to use up scraps that were on my desk. Oh, darn it. Oh, well. This has a word inside, and I've managed to make this the cover, which means that the word is upside down. Yoy, 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 yoy. This one I got right. I think it says enjoy. So it's all part of the grand scheme. Keeping my desk cleaner than it has been, using up existing materials, working my way through scraps and things that I've been hanging on to for far too long. You know, the new mentality, use it, don't store it. And, just getting a kind of a grip on how I'm doing things here in the studio. So, that being said, I used pieces of either scrapbook paper, and it could be thin stuff or it could be cardstock. This one is glittery and, whatever, embossed. So I made all these up using papers out of books. Now, quite often, let me just find one. This is scented drawer paper. I love this. So there are many of those. Anyway, I don't know if it's this one. Some of these papers were really quite shabby looking and, even perhaps soiled from decades of kicking around. And I didn't do anything about them. I didn't try to erase them or anything else. So we also know, because I've shown you, let me see, where's one that shows up a bit better, that I had, well, none of them show up very well. I had a number of these alphabet stickers that look like newsprint. So I basically divided up these little booklets into a color families that sort of looked better with this very old dictionary page, very caramely colored dictionary page, and that was a little dictionary that's disintegrating that Carrie, the paper monkey, sent to me in Happy Mail a long time ago. And then a whiter, newer dictionary where the pages were a bit whiter, or very white. So I kind of did this like an assembly line. I added all the dictionary first, a dictionary paper first, then I added a sticker, and you can see I used a variety of stickers. Some of these that are, anyway, I shouldn't be going into so much detail because obviously you would be using what you have. And then one other thing that I found as I was cleaning my desk, but maybe I like a good, I was going to say, maybe like a good girl, I put it away. It's this old date stamp. And I just I turned back time to 2011 and I didn't bother changing the date, and I just randomly stamped every single cover. Now, the only ones of this design, out of this batch, that I really didn't decorate with the dictionary page were these, because I love how colorful and primary and graphic those colors looked. So they got a red kind of puffy sticker and a date, and that was it. So now of course, you can see that I used all kinds of letters. Not much use for Q's in most applications. I just randomly picked letters. However, when I'm now throwing these in with orders or Happy Mail, maybe I'll be able to look through and find your initial in there and sort of personalize it in that sense. So that's one thing. Now, I have to say I have a whole bunch more of those little booklets made up that I guess if I wanted to, like if all was well in the world and I was all caught up with everything else, I could pull those together and, you know, continue decorating them. In the past, I've left them just very plain. The second thing I wanted to show you that I started was this, oh, and look how that color transferred. Well, it's actually kind of a happy accident. If you saw me working on this before, you know that I used up the very last bit of a particular pen. And because this was just a page out of a book, it transferred to the other side and actually looks pretty darn good. So maybe this will end up being a signature page, although it is a bit tall. Yeah, it's 9.5, but I could cut 1.5 inches off. Or I could, on this side where the little bit of text is, I could turn that up and, you know, make a little shallow pocket at the bottom. Anyway, okay, so what was I doing here? I had started out by masking off areas with 3 different widths of masking tape, and then I was using a Distress Oxide spray, spritzing it with water, drying in between, and it kind of, you know, it took a turn. Let's just say it took a turn, and I was not at all sure whether I liked it. But I pulled out my fluorescent orange Posca pen. Oh, who thought they'd live long enough to hear me say that I regretted using so much purple? I've managed to tone the purple down. And I think the thing that turned the corner for this piece was the fact that the fluorescent orange is just such a contrast to all the muted, duller colors in the background. Still love the piece. But then I dug through my pens, and that was just before turning on the camera. I picked this Uniball Signo broad. That doesn't look that broad. And that's what I did these things that I hope kind of look like mums to you. And if not, it doesn't matter. And I also had this, now this is American Crafts metallic marker, ink for dark and light paper, archival, permanent, opaque, acid-free, gold. This may have even come from a dollar store. I used both, again, to bring a little bit of shine, a little bit of interest to the paper, and also to keep up the integration of this, this piece. Now, what I intend to do, again, in keeping with my attempts to, you know, keep the organizing train on track and working, is to designate a drawer, a file folder, a basket, a dedicated place where I can put these original works of art, these original pieces of, let's say, art paper, so that I have them all together. Because, I mean, I've done this, I've done doodling, I've done gel printing, and it seems to me that I need to pull all of those things together rather than have them scattered hither and yon and never being able to really remember them, find them when the time comes. Now, because I am the creator, I could, if something turns out very beautifully, or if there was a request for it, I could digitize it because I own the design. And I have some digital kits that are my early attempts at gel printing. Still love them. So I just have to figure out how and where I'm going to do this so they stay sort of front of mind and are all together. So once I figure that out, I'll probably include that little highlight in my studio tour, which I'm committed to doing in 2025. Okay, so that is the update on this one. And then the final thing I'm going to show you today is what I continued to do in the way of decorating this altered book. Now, I'm sure by now that video has aired, so hopefully I'm not talking in circles here. So I will just show you. I honestly don't remember what I did with, oh, I know I added this after the fact. Okay, so I think you may have seen me, that I probably never glued that down very well, but I don't know that I care. Okay, I lined this pocket with some thin scrapbooking paper, and I don't know what it is, if it's these weird combinations that designers come up with for striped paper. I have nothing against stripes, but it's these color combinations that annoy me, something fierce. So I'm using it up. This page I just covered with my fruitier tea bag papers. And then I looked through my fussy cuts and I found these kids that were in a pattern book. You know, like when you go to the store and you flip through a pattern book and say, I want to make that. I think that's how it still works. That's how it used to work. So I think this really looks good together. She seemed perfect here, but just because of that pink belt. So nothing to see here. Oh, this page. This is a double spread with these deep angled pockets. And on my table, I had this iron-on transfer design. And you can see that the actual more interesting part of the pattern is kind of, few and far between. So I just did it across the whole page. And in fact, what I did was I just slathered, I glued it all down, and then very carefully, well, not that carefully on the first one, I cut along the edge of the pocket so that this pattern is continuous, but you can see that it didn't go, like, I did it all in one step, is what I'm saying. And I managed to cut through the paper. So this side, when I get to it, will need, so you can see that slit there. I was more careful when I did this side, and I don't have the issue there. It got a little bumpy, and that's fine. In fact, what I probably will do, if I come back to this page, is maybe hit some of these high spots with maybe my nightshade in the Ranger. I have a different, night sky. Oh, that might be the perfect color. Sorry. I didn't want you to have to stand on your head to read that. Okay, night sky, that could be the perfect color to just add a bit more interest, or I could leave it as stark as it is. Now these circles I just cut out of by hand, well, except these little guys I punched. I cut them out of some, I think it was origami, maybe not origami paper, but anyway, I had 2 small pieces of that, and I just cut it up and used all of it up. I wanted this sort of an effect here so that it becomes obvious that, oh, there's something there. So I like this one. I added this because, of course, there was just text showing on this pocket, and I used a beautiful piece of napkin, which, I mean, really with how beautiful napkins are, you almost don't have to do anything else. Now, if I choose at some point to add a word, well, that's fine. Because my pieces here weren't big enough, I ended up having to piece it together. But again, it doesn't matter to me that that's what I had to do. So that was rather easy. Now on this one, if you saw the other video, you know that I had this turned back flap envelope inside of a security envelope, a different envelope pattern, and let's see what a lovely job I did of painting. I thought, well, okay, and I made the mistake, instead of, I wanted this to be more a dried brush look. So you can see I put too much paint there, then I got a little dry, you know, so whatever. And I thought, I don't use doilies enough, so let me cut a chunk of a big doily. And I put that on over the paint. I then ran my, probably doesn't matter really what color, it could have been that peacock feathers, over that just to tone down that white a bit, give it a little bluish cast. I took one of my markers and just randomly highlighted a few of these little, see, this is like parquet flooring. Is that what the design is called, though? Well, let's call it parquet, so what? Now, because I hadn't done anything to the back of this flap, and that's before I thought of adding the girl, she was an afterthought. I thought, oh, let me just hold this flap down with a brad. Wouldn't that be beautiful? And when I looked through my decorative brads, there really wasn't anything that would have matched. So I used one of these bar type brads that has 2 sets of prongs. Now, originally I had it in a different position. Then when I thought of using the girl, I ended up having to undo one set of prongs, and I was able to reach in there, swing the thing around, get the girl where she needed to be, and still keep that in place. Now, of course, no one would have been lifting this up once she was glued over it anyway, but I still thought, okay, use up the brad. So that was that. Here I just used a beautiful hydrangea napkin. And I thought that these two worked well together because of this quatrefoil design here and these darker, more dried up looking blossoms. So I guess that butterfly was there. Whether I do anything more here remains to be seen. I also had a number of digitals that I had cut up, and I thought, okay, I had a few things going here. I have this pocket, and I have this shallow tuck spot. So there was text here. There was maybe just a margin or some text there, and all that text. And I thought, you know what? Let's just use up the varieties of numbers and widths and colors and make an impact that way. Now, whether or not I do anything more here, I don't know. I like it the way it is, but that's not to close the door on doing something more. On this one, I don't think you would have seen this, but so I had this angled pocket, and all I did was take a number of strips. Now, you really, at this point, you can't see them, but I had just a variety of widths of, there's a little teeny tiny bit of map there. I don't even know what some of these are. And then you saw that I had a number of pages from this book that had these sort of watercolor looking kind of images. I like the idea that he's looking up at her. I used that page to cover this inside of the pocket. We can still see him, we can see her, But because blue was the prominent color and I was getting such good results with using my napkins, that I just did some napkin in tones of blue and green to integrate those stripes. Now, you know, obviously this adds bulk to this because we had the original book page. Then we had the strips that I added. Then we had the napkin. And then we have this. So it becomes a lot. Now, does it matter to me that there's that white space there? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I could easily add a sentiment or something else there. I like the fact that some of these green elements are picked up there. So I think that's a successful page. Now on this one, using images from that same book, this was one whole page. I had to cut it down to cover. And I ran it through the gutter here, but I didn't want the woman to be, you know, caught in the middle. But I also didn't want to lose the trunk, so this is how I made that work. Then I had another piece, and it would have been this prayer of thanks, this tree, that, what do you call it, light post. And then this part was something that I fussy cut out of yet a third page. And I think it's like, holy cow, it worked. Now, because this page, the prayer of thanks, I pieced in by itself, and even though I thought I had done it well, I ended up with, like, let me show you, because you know, I love pointing out my mistakes. Okay, see here, this is where it ends. Well, over here, it was like 1/4 of an inch apart from the edge. And I'm thinking, well, that's just makes my eye go there and say, oh, something's wrong here. So this was a scrap I had torn off something. So I just added more leaves to this tree. And if I wouldn't have pointed it out to you, probably wouldn't have noticed it. So I consider this a successful one as well. And actually this poem or this little verse here is probably all intact and could be read if a person wanted to. And again, there's repeating bits of white, so that's fine. This maybe is done. On this one, I had pre-collaged this pocket with two different types of security paper. And then again, looking through scraps, I had all of these kids and this grandmother. They were all shushing each other because there was a baby asleep in the crib. So I thought, okay, let's just cut them all out, and you know, maybe they're swearing us to secrecy with some sort of a very you know, a tantalizing tidbit of some kind, you know. So shh. This one, I had used the wrong side, like the inside of an envelope with the 2 windows. And if you remember seeing it before, like you can see sort of where it ends, I had just plunked it down on the paper and hadn't done anything more with it. And I thought, you know, I don't particularly like how it's just there. So I used a napkin that had this very beautiful border around it. The black and white checker kind of effect picks up on the black and white here. I use those tulips. Now maybe they're a bit close together, but hey. This, and that butterfly were little teeny pieces that I took off there just to, you know, have the design. Like I use them for design purposes. I thought it was important to put something here. I thought it was important to put something there. And this, I think, just helped fill a gap. Now you can see that I have, and it's pretty crooked, and but that doesn't matter. I used a bit of this black and white thing here because I hadn't, well, it's one of those things. When you alter a book, you throw things out of kilter. So if you look at this, it appears that I glued this pocket on straight, but yet there was more text showing here than this little L and E that are showing here. So I didn't like that, so I needed to disguise that and fool the eye. Now maybe it looks uneven in another way, but at least it solved the problem I was setting out to solve. Now, is there anything else here? Oh, and you had seen that before. So that is what I have done in the altered book. And it was really a lot of fun to do it. And you can see that I used up quite a bit of stuff that had been kicking around for quite a while. So I think that this is going to be kind of a favorite of mine when it's done. Again, because the thing that runs through it is the black and white of the text and the envelopes that I had used. Now, in some cases, we don't see any of that, but we know that with black and white, any color that you add to it is going to look great. So I'm going to stop there, and I will stroke these things off my list, wherever I put that list, so that I know, okay, I've shown you that, and I don't have to, at least sort of close the book on. In fact, I'll do that right now. Altered book, mixed media piece, decorated mini books. Okay, so I'm sure there will be one more of these before the end of 2024. So I guess let me know if you like this concept. I did swipe the idea from Kim Newberg. It was her hashtag. And I think her rationale for creating it was basically the same as mine. Let's get some closure on some of these projects to get started. So hopefully you like that. And actually, I have a place where I'm now putting these projects as I work on them to save them up for just such a video. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. If you haven't already done so, I would appreciate if you would subscribe. It keeps the channel growing. It keeps me engaged and motivated. And it ensures that, that you kind of keep coming back and seeing what's up and so on. Of course, I always love to read and reply to your comments. And also, of course, who doesn't appreciate the thumbs up? When my daughter was a kid in high school, I guess, and that's when, sort of before everyone and his brother had a really good quality camera built into their smartphones. So she was interested in photography and was using an SLR camera and so on. Then, of course, like everyone else, morphed into using smartphones. Anyway, she got this idea because maybe she was already in university. I don't know. Anyway, this lasted several years. She, she was working for the Stollery Hospital Foundation by that time. And so was rubbing shoulders with a lot of Edmonton Oilers and some of the Brain Trust, going back to the glory years of the Oilers, like in the 80s with, Craig McTavish and Kevin Lowe and these guys that earned all those Stanley Cups, Wayne Gretzky, so on. Anyway, so she was helping organize an event, a golf tournament called Tee Up for Tots. So somewhere along the way, as she was meeting all these, important people, including the guy who ended up becoming our prime minister, long before he was in politics, she would get them to pose for a thumbs up photo. So part of the thing was you did a double thumbs up. The two of them did a double thumbs up, and they sort of also maybe flexed their knees a little bit and sort of bent, bent over, which is good because I think she also got some kind of a basketball star. So she did that with entertainers and politicians and athletes and so on. So somewhere there is a collection of photos that is actually, with a story behind each one. So imagine that when you're deciding, should I give Hazel a thumbs up? 2 thumbs up? Anyway, sorry for that little sidetrack there, but yeah, that's my kid. What can I say? Anyway, guys, I will let you go and we will see you in the next one. Bye.